Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation on menstruation education. This is going to be a review of the Wake County Public School System approach to menstruation education, and this presentation is brought to you by O'Day Mansour and Sarah Darwish. So first we're going to begin by giving a brief overview of the topics we'll cover in this video. First, we're going to look at how menstruation education is taught within public school education curriculums in the Wake County Public School System. Then we're going to show some evidence that goes on to discuss how it will impact women, and then we're going to talk about what you can do about it. So first we're going to start with the game. Because this presentation was adapted to a video format, there's obviously less interaction. So when I present the question to you, I would recommend you pause the video so you can give yourself some time to answer. Question number 1, true or false? The health education curriculum, which includes any information regarding puberty, sex, and menstruation, is designed and mandated by the federal government. So pause it and give yourself some time to think about that question. The answer to question number 1 is false. The federal government does not have any specific mandates for health or sex ed curriculums. Many states do not have mandatory curriculums. Question number 2, true or false? The health education curriculum, which includes any information regarding puberty, sex, and menstruation, is designed and mandated by the North Carolina government. So give yourself some time to think about this one. The answer to question number 2 is true. The North Carolina state government does have specific mandates for health and sex ed curriculums, and county school boards are allowed to choose which NCDPI standards and mandates they apply within their county school system. So let's go on to look at those mandates in more depth. Question number 3. Which of the following general requirements for sex education is one that North Carolina does not require schools to enforce? So of the following, if such sex education is provided, it must be 1, medically accurate, 2, age appropriate, or 3, culturally appropriate, unbiased, and not promoting religion. So which one of these 3 options do you think is not enforced by North Carolina schools? So let's see the answer. The answer to question number 3 is answer number 3. Culturally appropriate, unbiased, and not promoting religion. Sex education must, by NC policy, be medically accurate and age appropriate if there is going to be mention of sex. But there is no restriction requiring any cultural consideration, bias analysis, or related measures. Let's go into question number 4. The NCDPI breaks down optional health education standards by school grade levels. Within which range of grade levels do you think that there is mention of menstruation as a standard to be taught to students? Number 1, K through 12. Number 2, grades 3 to 5. Number 3, grades 6 to 8. Or number 4, grades 9 to 12. So let's see the answer. The answer is number 3, grades 6 to 8. During grades 6 to 8 is the first and only time that the NCDPI suggests introducing students to menstrual education. So this is a screenshot from the NCDPI website that provides educators with a list of objectives that they have the ability to choose from to teach their students about sex education and health education. This is the only mention of menstrual education, and we can read it, and it says, to summarize the relationship between conception and the menstrual cycle. So we can see that the only time that menstrual education is cited or talked about in this whole standard booklet is in relation to conception. Do you think this is problematic? So to talk about this further, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah, and she'll go more in depth into this issue.
So now that we've played the game and learned a bunch of different facts about menstrual access and menstrual education in North Carolina, we're going to talk a little bit about why these different facts are problematic, and then also discuss what you can do based on the things that we've learned today. So first, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction standard evaluates menstruation solely as it relates to sex and reproduction. So this further adds to the stigma of menstruation as being taboo and not something worth discussing. There's also no mention of how developing girls should practice healthy menstrual care or how to access necessary products, another aspect of which the curriculum should include in order to be comprehensive and inclusive of all people. So this is important because menstrual hygiene has been identified as a sanitation concern impacting the health of young girls by UNICEF. A study from Diorio Monroe noted that menstrual education was shown to be significantly related to an improved school experience. So when young people, especially young girls, were taught about menstruation as part of their sex ed curriculum, their self-image was improved and their attitude towards their body was improved. This is in opposition to young people who weren't exposed to these topics in sex ed, specifically young girls, and their self image was a lot lower and their attitude towards their body was a lot more negative. It's also important because stigma surrounding menstruation is still evident in many parts of the country, and it leads to a lack of education regarding menstrual health. A book by Nadia Okamoto called Period Power notes that this sort of stigma is a self perpetuating cycle based on lack of discourse. So, when menstruation isn't discussed and taught about in educational settings, people are less likely to want to discuss it in their day to day lives, which perpetuates this cycle of stigma. Discussion must also be broached in a positive way. The study mentioned on the previous slide indicated that when students were taught about their bodies and puberty in a positive way, this was also likely to increase the positivity that they thought about their own bodies and self image. Overall, this is a really important thing because a study from Omar McElderry and Zakaria noted that puberty is a significant life experience that can impact an individual's future development. So, again, the cycle of introducing these topics to a person at a young age can help them in future development and their future experiences with themselves and others. So, now that we've learned about why these issues are important, we're going to give you a little bit of context of what you can do to change them. The first is conducting research. So, a lot of studies have been conducted nationwide and internationally, but few have focused on specific states like North Carolina. Therefore, we propose analysis of Wake County Public Schools' high school sex ed curriculum and how it addresses menstruation, if at all. These findings will be used to advocate for enhanced curriculums in North Carolina and to spread awareness of the topic with this age cohort in the area. A couple of other things that you can do are speaking up. Just don't be afraid to ask your health education teacher about menstrual health in the appropriate setting and start that dialogue in your class. Another thing you can do is organizing students at your school to make a difference. Organizations like Period are really great at trying to lift the social stigma surrounding menstruation and providing people in need with the necessary menstrual hygiene products to manage their cycle. So that is one organization that really does that kind of work. Another thing you can do is ask around at your school to learn how you can work with staff to improve access to menstrual hygiene supplies. A lot of students that are low income or from vulnerable communities have to go without these supplies and use different items in lieu of them, which can make going to school a really difficult and embarrassing process. So providing these items at reduced cost or for free can really alleviate that stress from your fellow students. Another thing you can do is create educational and factual materials like this PowerPoint slide to place around your school. This again will open up the dialogue and will have people wanting to talk more about menstrual education and understand the role it plays in people's day-to-day lives. Another thing you can do is register to speak at a school board meeting. So policy ideas are through the school board for your area, and you might be able to bring what they need to begin looking into change. A lot of times policy issues like this aren't at the attention of policymakers, and so being a student whose day-to-day life is impacted by these issues is super important in bringing about these ideas to policymakers and making sure that they understand that this issue is important and what they can do to help people like you make schools a more better and inclusive place for all students. Thank you for listening to this slideshow. We hope you've learned a lot of different things today about menstruation and why menstrual education is important and things that you can do in your community to support menstruators and make sure that educational spaces are inclusive and supportive of everyone. Thank you.